Good afternoon and welcome to the show for the day. This is the last word, and I'm glad to be on with you today as we record this. We are actually on live today. Most of the time, the show is pre recorded. Off the road and decided to go on live today to talk to you and share with you some of the issues as we've been facing and going through in terms of the direction we have been gathering with this whole idea of talking in a commentary way about the three bases of the things that we're talking about from, um, I guess, our threefold idea of faith, family, and finance. We've been focusing on that for the last several episodes. This is episode 11, and we're going to stay on this theme, stay on this idea of focusing where we are in terms of our Christianity and our viewpoint of discussion. You can share this podcast with others if you're on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or any of the other platforms that we're under. You can leave your comments on the page where the ticker tape is going. You also can um, email me, and I have a announcement there about my book on decoding the kingdom, which we'll be discussing in a few weeks because it'll lead up to some of the things that we're talking now. It is good to be able to discuss the issues and things of the day as we present them in terms of moving into a more understanding of where we are as Christians. I brought up some issues that are very important to us in terms of dynamics of Christianity itself. Last few episodes, I've been talking quite a bit about where we are as Christians, where does Christianity fit in today, how we culturally fit in terms of what we determine in viewpoint, especially our viewpoint of the scriptures. Now, I think that as we go back to talk about the viewpoint of the scriptures, where we are developing and how we develop that, we can talk several ways or several ideas of Christianity itself and how it evolved from the first century church, from the primitive church, to move into what we call a structured church or development of things that we see. But as we see that, we get an understanding of God really blessing us in terms of two aspects that are very important to us as a people. One of those two aspects is to primarily deal with us in terms of this idea of seeing us in our faith. And I've been discussing this idea of faith not so much being what we do as to what we have, a confidence and assurance. And that's really in Hebrews 11 where we're talking about by faith, by faith, by faith, by our confidence, by our assurance, by our belief system and knowing who God is. That's how we demonstrate and discuss these things. We've been talking about the deconstruction of Christianity and also want to talk about the reconstruction of Christianity. Now, that means that we need to talk about what's being torn down, the foundation of Christianity, what's being torn down in terms of who we are and where we're at, and how we can go about reconstruction, a better picture of who we are and why we developed in terms of who we are, in terms of the church. Now, basically, when we talk about that, especially when we talk about church, we always have a problem in identifying several aspects of the church, but we want to talk about that and really focus on a Christian worldview because that's really where we are. We talked about several viewpoints that are in the world. I summed them up as five basic viewpoints of your viewpoint of the world, what you think of society. Because we live in a society now, especially in Western society, as I pointed out in a couple of broadcasts, the society we live in now is a society that we seem to be worried about who thinks what about what and how their viewpoint matters as opposed to my viewpoint or anybody else's viewpoint. Now we are into this idea of becoming relational truth or not absolute truth because there are no absolutes today in terms of a particular worldview that people take. They don't want absolutes because they want to be able to express themselves by themselves into an understanding of knowing who they are with themselves. That becomes very important in terms of looking at that. So it shares a whole different uh, viewpoint and